Let's talk for a moment about AP failover. What happens when it all goes wrong, basically? So let's take a look. When a wireless LAN controller fails, the AP will fail over to the backup wireless LAN controller. That is if you have two wireless LAN controllers in your environment and they are working together. That's how we want this set up, right? Wireless LAN controller fails. We don't want everybody to drop off and lose traffic. We want a backup in order to move there. Next up, when a primary wireless LAN controller is back on, so our primary wireless LAN controller, when it comes back on, the AP by default will fail back to that primary. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to have an AP, and that on that AP, we're going to decide a primary wireless LAN controller, and we may have a secondary wireless LAN controller on that AP. What this is saying is, if there's any problem, let me draw these two wireless LAN controllers out here. If there's any problem with the primary, this is primary and this is the secondary, any problem with the primary whatsoever, our AP is going to drop off there and go to the secondary. That's pretty, straightforward failover process, right? But what isn't is the preemptive process here. If it happens that the primary comes back online, this AP will then drop the secondary and reinitiate with the primary. Okay. Now, how does all this happen? It's very nice to talk and draw all these diagrams, but what's the process behind it all? First off, there's a heartbeat that verifies the reachability from the AP to the wireless LAN controller. A heartbeat. Are you there? It's basically a failsafe. Are you there? Are you there? Are you there? And once I can ask that 5 different times and not receive something, I know something's up. So this heartbeat acknowledgement verifies that the wireless LAN is reachable. So I send out a heartbeat, acknowledgement is sent back. Send out a heartbeat, acknowledge is sent back. A heartbeat is sent out every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, I'm going to go, are you still there? And the wireless LAN controller is going to go, yes, I am. So we know that there is some type of communication. If there is no acknowledgement, I'm going to resend as an AP, I'm going to resend 5 times at a 1-second interval. I'm going to say, hey, are you there? 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 If I don't receive something back, I know something's wrong. That's when I fail over. That's when I fail over. That's when I call, okay, I need to go to my secondary wireless LAN controller. Now, some of these options are actually configurable through the GUI or the CLI. I have 3 to 8 for my retransmit count. Those are my configurable values. Okay, 3 to 8. Next, I have a 2 to 5 retransmit value. Retransmit interval, excuse me. Interval. So 3 to 8 retransmit count, 2 to 5 retransmit interval. And then I have a 1 to 30 heartbeat timeout. How long I'm going to wait. All configurable in your environment through the CLI or GUI. Now, this is awesome. It gives you the ability to fine-tune your environment, get things closer. You could run everything down to the minimal value. Say, I'm only going to retransmit twice. If I don't receive anything in 2 tries, I'm done. The thing with this is this generates traffic on my network, doesn't it? This increases the management traffic shares, the back end, right? The management plane, what we're using to actually keep track of our equipment and stuff. Not by a lot, even at the lower levels. We're not talking about a ton of traffic, but it's definitely chatter. We like to say a lot of traffic on a link is chatter. We can make this a really chatty program if we get too far into it. Now, this is all great for the APs. But wireless LAN controllers also have to keep track of things, don't they? They have to keep track of each other's clients, or else what? If the primary fails, the secondary is like, whoa, I have no idea where all this is coming from. I have no control over what's going on. So let's talk for a moment about how it looks on the wireless LAN controller side. Let me erase these counts. Remember those configurable amounts, by the way. 3 to 8, 2 to 5, 1 to 30, right? Count, interval, and timeout. 3 to 8, 2 to 5, 1 to 30. Count, interval, and timeout. Okay. Now there is a backup controller list. There is a backup controller list, and this backup controller list is kept between wireless LAN controllers. They actually share that information. And by default, this is sent every 120 seconds. Every 120 seconds, I'm going to talk to the other wireless LAN controllers in my neighborhood, not in my network neighborhood. Those wireless LAN controllers within my network. They're going to talk to each other and send off controller lists. But I can configure this. This is 30 to 3600 seconds. Again, you can get this down 30 seconds versus 120 seconds. This is the default. But again, we create that chatter when we go too low. So you're going to have to make a decision as an administrator how much traffic is acceptable in your environment.